So I wanted to talk about the fifth car that I have available, and it's this one, a BMW 320 Coupe, an E92 variant, 2 litre diesel from 2010. Welcome everybody. Today I'm in our 2010 BMW E92 320 diesel coupe. We've had this car since 2013, and since it's been, well, 10 years since we've had it, I thought it'd be useful to introduce the car onto the channel and just talk a little bit through what it's been used for and how it's been getting on. So this originally was my car, and it was used to replace a 1996 Daimler Double Six. So the Daimler Double Six was a 4-litre AJ16 engined car, automatic, long wheelbase, fabulous car, but a change in circumstance in 2013, a change of employment, meant that I now had a much longer commute than what I had previously. As a consequence, the Daimler, the 4-litre Daimler, was using about 3 or 4 gallons a day just to get me to and from my place of work, which is a round trip of about 150 miles. So I actually sourced this car from a main dealer in the end, a BMW main dealer. At the time, this may have changed now, but at the time, the best BMW stock was mostly within the BMW dealership chain. So after a couple of months back in 2013 of searching through on the BMW approved used car website, I found this E92 example at my local BMW dealership. Test drive was duly arranged, and we came to a suitable arrangement whereby the car would be fitted with the optional 6-disc CD tray in the boot, and also that it would be prepared with the BMW approved Seal and Protect. Now, about Seal and Protect, I honestly think in hindsight that was perhaps the biggest waste of money. So Seal and Protect basically involves impregnating the trim with some sort of protective solution, and it also involved basically the application of a hard wax to the outside of the car. This lasted probably 3 or 4 months, so I would have been far better off actually not bothering with the Seal and Protect and actually just using my own cleaning materials at home. That was lesson number one. The other thing that was rather disappointing with buying the car through a BMW franchise main dealer was the fact that when the car was on test drive, we took it out for a reasonable test drive, there was a slight grumbling noise coming from the near side front wheel, just a slight grumble, and I was fairly convinced that actually this would be a wheel bearing. I actually thought it was the wheel bearing. So as part of the process, I said, look, can you inspect this wheel bearing? I don't think it's quite 100%. It's a bit of a grumble there. So they said they inspected it. Oh no, sir, nothing wrong with this at all, sir. Okay, fair enough. We'll carry on with the arrangements. I then also get a phone call maybe a few days before collection telling me that they've forgotten to do the MOT. So that set collection back by around a week. So eventually I pick the car up and everything's fine, everything's handed over, and I'm using the car. As you know, I'm doing a 150 mile a day round trip commute. So the mileage is going up quite quickly. The good news, I have a 5-year service plan, or the remains of a service plan. The balance of the service plan was around 2 years. So 3-year-old car, 5-year service plan. I had the benefit of 2 years of a service plan. Fine, no problem. So we took it into the dealerships at first service. Everything's fine, no problems at all. The wheel bearing is still grumbling at this point, and I ask again, can you check to see if there's any issues with this wheel bearing? Again, the reply comes back, oh no sir, nothing wrong here. This is absolutely fine. Okay, fair enough. So wind forward a couple of years, and I take it in for its service. Quite a major service. I booked it in and I checked that, well, this is the final service we're going to do with the service plan. Fine, yes sir, no problem at all. So we go into the dealership, drop the car off, courtesy car, no problems at all. And I come to pick it up, and they say, yes, thank you, yep, here's what it's had done, and here's the bill. The bill? What bill? Turns out that there's a mileage limitation on the service plan, and the mileage limitation is 60,000 miles. Wasn't aware of that, so it's rather frustrating that I'd booked the service in with the main dealer knowing that there's about 59,000 miles on the clock. It took quite a while to get a convenient date, and it turns out that I was 3 miles over the service plan 60,000 mile threshold. 3 miles. So I wasn't best pleased when I was presented with a bill for £500. Needs to say, after that, I didn't use the main dealer ever again. Well, actually, it's not quite true. There was 2 product recalls. So with this BMW, there's a recall for the heating fan. Apparently it's known that in certain situations the heating system, the fan system, can overheat and cause a fire. So that was one recall, and the other recall was to do with the battery earth strap. Apparently this can fail and it could cause a problem and disable the car, which is not great, and I understand that caused some quite serious issues for some people. So we agreed to get the recalls done. It took 6 months to actually get a date. The recalls were done, no issues. I have the paperwork for that. That's the last time I used at the main dealer. In terms of subsequent servicing, I ended up using a renowned independent BMW specialist not too far away from us, and it was booked in for its first service. The mileage at this point would have been about 75,000 miles. And I get a phone call. The guys picked it up. I get a phone call, and immediately they tell me, oh, we just brought the car back to our workshop, and your near side front wheel bearing is really growling. Did you know about it? Obviously I did know about it, but the main dealer refused to do anything about it. So again, went back to the main dealer and explained the situation. I said, look, I've had this verified and you guys have been messing me about. The wheel bearing is in fact faulty, and it's going to cost a couple of £100 to replace. Can you cover it? Oh no sir, I'm very sorry sir, but you should have bought it for us to diagnose. Obviously I already had done that, but they're quite adamant that they weren't going to do anything at all, which is very frustrating. The other challenge we had at this point was the trim. There's a bit of trim on some of the cars. It's chrome. This one is actually chrome covered in black. That started corroding. So again, contacted the main dealer and said, look, this is not very good. This is less than 5 years old, the car, and we've got corrosion. I believe the BMWs come with a lifetime bodywork corrosion guarantee. Oh yes sir, they do, but that's not bodywork, that's trim. So apparently any exterior trim that's not covered. It's literally anything that's painted and that's it. So that was actually rather frustrating, to say the least. So setting aside the fairly ropey main dealer experience, the independent has looked after this car well. The mileage on the car currently is 133,000 and it's due to turn over to 134,000 fairly soon. So I guess it's worth talking about what else has gone wrong with the car. Actually very little. I've regaled the story of the dodgy wheel bearing. I've mentioned the 2 product recalls. Otherwise, no real major dramas. The only other non-serviceable item that's failed is the exhaust gas recirculation valve. I did actually attempt to replace this myself. I sourced a replacement exhaust gas recirculation valve from eBay. Unfortunately, it wasn't a genuine one. It was an OEM part apparently, but not that OEM. It turned out to be a bit of Chinese junk, which is very, very disappointing, having put the effort into removing the original exhaust gas recirculation valve and replaced it with this clearly flawed Chinese design, which lasted 2 weeks. Very disappointed. Anyway, the independent sorted out a new replacement exhaust gas recirculation valve, and since then, no issues. The car has been serviced and maintained throughout its life. We made a point of when the car turned over to 100,000 miles to get the gearbox serviced. So that involved ZF long life oil for the gearbox and also a new filter as well. Highly recommended to keep the transmission in tip-top working order. Otherwise, it's a case of bearings. What really needed attention is the ABS rings. To replace the ABS rings on the rear axle does actually involve removing the 2 rear drive shafts. So that's actually quite expensive. That's actually about a £500 bill. That's just caused by corrosion of the ABS rings. Otherwise, I really can't think of anything else that... oh, that was right. Yeah, there's one other item that required attention. We need to have a new brake caliper. A brake caliper on the offside rear seized on, and that just needed to be replaced. Otherwise, no real issues. I really ought to talk about some of the features this car has, having had a bit of a moan and rant about the main dealer experience. So as mentioned, this is a 2010 BMW E92 320d SE Coupe. It comes with the optional winter pack or cold weather pack. This means that both the front seats are heated. These are very good, very effective. They heat up really, really quickly, far quicker than any of the Jags or the Mercedes that we have. Otherwise, we're fairly standard. What was really appealing with this car was the fact that it came with 17-inch wheels. Now, a lot of the sport variant 3 Series coupes tended to come with 18 or 19-inch wheels. I felt, given for long distance commuting, this probably wasn't going to be a great solution, so we kept with the 17-inch wheels, which really appealed about this car. The N47 unit did come with a bit of a health warning. Now, I'm not sure how common this is. I don't think it is that common, but one of the major issues with the N47 2-litre 4-cylinder engine is that the timing chain can stretch or break, and in that situation you are looking at a catastrophic failure of the chain, which then impacts all of your valve timing, and your valves are going to get out of sequence with what the cylinders are doing, and basically it can very quickly destroy your entire engine. A telltale sign, if there are issues, is a lot of background noise when the engine is running. Particularly around 1500 RPM, I'm led to believe, you can really hear a lot of grating of the chain where it's stretched. so that's giving you a bit of a warning. Sometimes the service light can come on as well, I understand. Not actually experienced it myself, so can't really comment any further on that, but certainly one to watch if you are looking to get a second-hand BMW N47 unit. The N47 unit was actually subsequently replaced by the B47 unit. Apparently that had the same issue. I guess the interesting point about the B47 unit is that it's found in the BMW 4 Series. So the BMW 4 Series replaced this particular model and came with a variety of engines. In fact, this E92 came with a variety of engines. I'm not going to go through all of them because there are so many. Even the N47 2-litre diesel came in various states of tune. Interestingly, this particular example is around 180, 182 brake horsepower as standard. So the E92 originally started out in, I think it was 2005, 2006, and ran until all the way through till 2013. Interestingly, that was maybe a year or two after they'd stopped making the E90. 2-litre engine was ideal. It's certainly nippy enough. The alleged top speed of this car is around 143, and the 0 to 60 was something like 7.6, 7.7, maybe 7.8. So perfectly acceptable for everyday driving, and more significantly, the economy. So on a long run, this will do around 49.50 to the gallon. So 50 miles per gallon, which is pretty impressive given it's automatic. The automatic is a ZF transmission, a 6-speed unit. I believe the replacement 4 Series coupes came with an 8-speed ZF unit, as did the saloons. Given that this car was a daily, used exclusively for me for the first couple of years for work purposes, it's rear-wheel drive, so it felt appropriate to invest in another set of 17-inch wheels, alloy wheels, and fit them out with winter tyres. The suspension and setup here is pretty firm. It's independent first and struts all the way around, and the handling is pretty sharp, I have to admit. It bonds very quickly. The steering feels really heavy and quite weighted. I quite like this, but it is really noticeable going between this car and the Jaguars. Being slightly narrower and slightly smaller and lower down than the Jaguars, it's well suited to small sort of country lanes and roads, such as the ones that we're navigating at the moment. I appreciate that I've not gone into a huge amount of detail with this car, but if you do have any questions, then please let me know in the comments below. If you appreciate the video, then do consider giving it a like, and if you're not already subscribed, please do. There are plenty of more videos coming along very soon. Thanks a lot.